Good morning, whatever. Episode 128, Sixers Spurs. Stay tuned.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everybody. Sunday, the Lord's Day, the Sabbath. Here to talk about Sixers Spurs. Saturday night. I wasn't even going to do this podcast. I wanted to come. I thought this was going to be an uneventful game, that there would be nothing to talk about, and that I would come and talk about the NBA, give a quick overview of what's been going on in the league, what teams look good, teams like the Jazz who are surprising us or stuff like that. And instead I got to talk about this. This team, just a team of tormentors, just tormenting my happiness. There's just no way. If you think it's time to panic now, this is not the game to panic. It's either earlier, the last two games, or you wait and say later. That's how I feel. People lose to bad teams all the time. It happens. It's whatever. It's Saturday in Philly with a noted nighttime guy, who played like shit last night, but he's back. 0-3. Harden is back, though. Harden looks good again. Does he? Looked good the first two games, for sure. 4 for 18 last night. 12 points, 12 assists. I don't even know where to begin. Joel looked good. Let's start with the box score. I'll start there. How about that? And then, I'll let it guide me. I said when we signed, I told a friend of mine when we signed P.J. Tucker this summer, he was like, oh, that's a good sign. I was like, it's cool. The thing is, I wonder how long it'll take before Sixers fans realize that P.J. Tucker is not their answer. That there will be games where P.J. Tucker doesn't score points, where he does nothing but yell and, and he hasn't hit the game where he hasn't scored points yet. He's been, somewhat productive, I guess, shot 2 threes yesterday. It's not really enough threes to be a threat, I would say. And his defense has been, let's chalk up his defense to tough matchups. So what is he going to do against Tatum? What is he going to do against Giannis? I don't really know what P.J. Tucker is here for. I don't know. I get for the toughness, I guess, thing. Sure. Toby has strings sometimes that are just so awful that I just want to cry. And in all fairness, it doesn't take much to make me cry. I cry often, but I rarely cry from frustration anymore. But Tobias, man, he gets me there. Let me tell you. My man, he was, listen, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Okay. 6 for 11 shooting. That's not bad. 3 for 6 from 3. I do like that. But just the ones that we need, he never, ever hits. I can't even remember him hitting a big 3 necessarily. It feels like he just never hits the one we need. There was a play in the second quarter, back-to-back plays where first, wide open corner three-pointer, he misses, and I knew he was going to miss. I had called it and laughed. When he missed, I started laughing because I knew it. And then the very next play gets an offensive foul called on him. Now, the offensive foul wasn't bad, but the offensive foul was whatever. You could argue that it wasn't an offensive foul. He kind of pushed off a little bit when he was in the air with his left arm. It wasn't that serious. Going up against the center, it's fine. The thing is, it doesn't matter. Because as I said last year, that with refs who look at Tobias, they call calls on him because he isn't good. Because they're like, oh, that's awful. Trash. No, I don't care. I don't care that you were fouled. It doesn't look good. Whistle. Foul on you. Because you fouled all of our eyes. Joel played great. The first quarter, he looked awful. He came out, was moping. Didn't get back on offense. I want to say throughout the night, he didn't get back on offense on a few different possessions. Any type of transition, he just doesn't get back. And then on defense, there was a couple possessions. As I said, he lays down on the ground. Now they want to say, well, maybe his foot. Actually, pause before I go any further. I want to correct something. Against the Bucks, I said that Grayson Allen hit that three-pointer. Tobias needs to be watching Grayson Allen. The problem was Tobias was watching Grayson Allen instead of sticking to his man, Wes Matthews, who got wide open, and Grayson Allen passed it to him. So I confused myself, and I wanted to get that straight because it was pissing me off. Anyway, back to the original program. In the first quarter, Joel's energy looked awful. I mean, he just looked like he didn't want to be there, looked miserable. And then something happened. Now, at one point, it looks like he got irritated by something. And then in the second quarter, when he came back in, he started looking more active on defense. And then in the second half, was really active on defense, on offense, scored 27 in the second half, was absolutely dominant offensively throughout the game, really. I mean, he was just dominant, 14 to 25. The thing is that there's no joy in this, and that's the big thing. When you're watching this team, I'm telling you, just watch a game from last year to a game compared to a game this year, there is like zero joy in Joel right now when he's playing. So even when he's playing well, it doesn't look good because there's no swag, there's no gumph to it. He just looks like a guy who's scoring because sometimes it's time to score now. His defense is not really good. You saw him multiple times get moved by Jakob Poeltl. Again, I've said multiple times, we can say whatever we want. Joe is not a great rebounder in general, and our team is awful at rebounding. I mean, we have James is the second shortest player in the starting lineup, and he had the second most rebounds behind Joe. Toby is 6'8". He sometimes is a good rebounder. Sometimes he isn't. P.J. Tucker had 4 rebounds, which looks good in the context of his production because he had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. And then you look, and he's up, but he played 30 minutes, though. Our rebounding is awful. We just don't grab rebounds. Joel had 13 rebounds, which is good. He's averaging, I think he's averaging about 13 rebounds right now per game this season through 3 games. It's early, but it's impressive. As I've said a million times, he's just not a good rebounder. And Poeltl multiple times, the 2 big offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter that we desperately needed. Now, Doc said that he had plantar fasciitis throughout the summer, and he's working himself back into shape. But how didn't we know about that? How didn't we know about that? That's the shit that listen, maybe if he had plantar fasciitis and he's not comfortable, like that could be for sure a great explanation as to why his when you don't have your legs and when your feet hurt, as someone who's experienced this and stories from LA Fitness, when you have bad feet and they're hurt, playing basketball is no longer fun. It's not a fun thing to do. You know what I mean? So you could definitely make that argument. I don't think that's the reason because that doesn't explain why everybody's vibes are off. Maxey doesn't look like he's having a good time, does he? Do you think when you watch Tyrese Maxey, does he look like the fun, carefree kid from last year? He don't look like that to me. The fun, sweet kid with the great skincare routine, he don't look like that. He looks miserable. Tobias looks like Tobias. PJ is just yelling at people in general, so I don't know. I mean, he probably yells his Starbucks order. Latte, grande. Our bench is pathetic. Niang scored points. He had 8 points. That's good. He had 8 points. He had the famed I scored points and did nothing else stat line. A turnover and a foul and nothing else. No rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks, nothing. Just 8 points. Efficient. Dan Wellhouse, 2 points, a block, an assist, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers. Montrez. Let me see if I'm reading this. 2 rebounds. It's a 0. 0 there. A 0. Not even a turnover or a foul. 0 points. Okay. 9 minutes he played. He played 9 minutes for us. And just zeros. Matisse played yesterday for 3 minutes. 0 for 1. Let me see if I see this. 0. 0 rebounds, 0 assists. No steals, no blocks. No turnovers, no fouls. No points. Oh, okay. He has 1 stat, and it's a field goal attempt in 3 minutes. Okay. D'Anthony Melton, let's see here. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Okay. 0, 0. 0 points. 0 for 3. Wow. Okay. We had 10 points from our bench. who played a combined, let's see, quick math, 32, 48, 57, 60 minutes. That can't be right. 248. Yeah, 60 minutes. 60 minutes, like the CBS program. They played a combined 60 minutes, had 10 points. One block, one assist, one block, two steals, two assists, 7 rebounds. 10 points and 7 rebounds in 60 minutes. A per 60 of 10 points and 7 rebounds. Per 60. Hey, wasn't Daryl Morey good at his job? Remember? You told me that. I've been arguing a while that he wasn't that really impressive, but I'll get to that in a second. No problem. I want to point something out here on the Spurs. Just one guy, Keldon Johnson, 32 minutes plus 13, 21 points, 1 steal, 8 rebounds. Last year, when all of the negotiations were happening, we were seeing all these stories leak. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt. These are leaked stories. We don't know how true they are. There was a story about us trading Ben to the Spurs for DeJounte and Lonnie Walker. And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, I love DeJounte. I would absolutely love to have him. Why can't you do a Ben, Matisse, a couple draft picks, and turn that into DeJounte and Keldon Johnson, and Keldon Johnson. And then we could have DeJounte, Maxey, Keldon Johnson, Tobias, and Joel to essentially take the same team we had last year and upgrade a bunch of positions. Just adding attribute points to all the positions across the board, but the team's core stays the same. The way we play stays the same. I didn't want James here for the very reason that we're witnessing. Last night, I had a crazy realization. I said, oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me Fat James with the bad hamstring was actually a better contributor to winning than in-shape James who wants to dribble all fucking day? Yeah, because he was all in his feelings. He couldn't move, so he wanted to pass the ball more often, get it up ahead without him having to touch the ball. All he wanted to do was move around the perimeter. The problem is he don't move without off ball. And then when we need a scorer in crunch time, he didn't offer that. Someone who could break down the defense to take pressure off Joel. And now, instead of staying the same type, whatever, the homie Vic yesterday texted me. He said, so what happened? James only wants to be a point guard when he's with Kevin Durant. And I said, I think that James doesn't know what a point guard is. And we have to reframe the discussion around what he thinks a point guard is, as opposed to what we think a point guard is. You know what I mean? When he has a bad hamstring and can't move, sure thing. He wants to pass the ball to everybody else. Can't do anything. He wants to get the assist. A genius, the great passer, incredible passer, just great at getting the ball places. Really good at getting the ball places where they need to be. But he's not a point guard. Those are different things, as we know. And Victor knows. Vic knows. I'm not educating him on anything. Just wanted to give him a different way of looking at this. He's not a point guard. But it's crazy to think that last year in those 40 games, including the playoffs that he played here, how much better he was making the other guys around him. To this year, everyone seems to have taken a step back. Maxey has not been good this season, shooting 25% from 3. Think about that. In the preseason, when he didn't play with James, he was shooting like 60% from 3. It was wild. It's incredible in the preseason, having fun. We're having fun. You know, like Jackie Moon. He's having a great time. Now, Harden is back in the lineup. Maxey looks fucking miserable to the max. Joel don't look happy. Nothing looks good. And all Daryl did was rest. He's just resting on the laurels of the Rockets. Think about how he's fooled y'all. He's fooled all of you. My man was successful on the Rockets with this team he built. To be clear, no GM works alone. All right, I want to put something out there. Sam Hinkie got famous for working on the team under Daryl. That's why Sam and Daryl were close. Both of them heavy into analytics, the whole thing. All right. But Daryl works part of a team. And in that team, with all these analytics, this is what they believed. And those analytics can take you really, really far. And they went ahead and pulled a lot of trades. You got P.J. Tucker was a great trade at the time. You know, identified Danwell House. The thing is, all these other players, when you have a guy like James in his prime, same thing with LeBron in his prime, these perimeter guys in their prime who command so much attention, a lot of average players and below average players and G League guys start looking really, really good to you. Understand Isaiah Hartenstein, who's playing great on the Knicks, who's been playing great for the Knicks for him. I love Hartenstein. Playing great for the Knicks, played great for the Clippers last year. He was on the Rockets. I think they traded him for nothing as like a throw-in. Clint was there. They traded Clint. Clint was great on the Hawks. Clint was great on the Rockets too, but they wanted to go super, super, super small. This idea that he's this genius GM, I've talked about this for how long, about relitigating his career. His favorite trade, I've said this on the podcast before, you ask him, his favorite trade is when he traded for Kyle Lowry. But he lost Lowry for nothing. I don't know if he traded him to the Rockets or if Lowry went to the Rockets for free. I can't even remember, but he lost him for nothing. It was nothing. To think that he could say that was a favorite trade and people be like, yeah, for sure. Look at Kyle's a Hall of Famer. Going to be a Hall of Famer one day. Wait a minute, but then how come he wasn't on the Rockets anymore? If he identified this great player, traded for Dwight Howard, didn't recognize that Dwight and James could never fucking mesh. You can never play together. Dwight and James. Then they traded for Chris Paul. That worked somehow. That was a stroke of luck. That worked because Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards of all time and can play next to anybody, but has a personality that's bristling, and so it kind of doesn't last forever. That didn't last forever. Then compounded it, the Russell Westbrook thing. You can believe whatever you want to say. That was either Raphael Stone, who said he wanted Russell Westbrook, whoever it was. They've decided not to assign any blame to Morey because trading for Russell Westbrook doesn't fit within the scope of things that Daryl Morey likes to do. Fair. Comes here and just tries to rebuild the exact same team. I said this and I got into, not even an argument, but I was talking to a friend of mine last night about D'Anthony Melton. And again, I said, what are we expecting D'Anthony Melton to do? Here's the thing. If D'Anthony Melton was so good, then why would the Grizzlies have moved on from him for essentially nothing? If he was this guy that was like, we moved on from him for nothing. I mean, they moved on from him for nothing because they had Tyus Jones as their backup. They like Tyus Jones better. I like Melton. I like D'Anthony for sure. He's okay. He's not going to save us. Listen, this bench is underperforming and it's disgusting. Montrez, another one. I mean, when we signed Montrez, and people, no. Y'all are hype for the man who won a Sixth Man of the Year award, but watch him. You watched him the last couple of years, all he does is boneheaded dumb shit, and he's 6 inches shorter. The boneheaded dumb shit from Andre Drummond, at least he was 6 inches taller and like a Hall of Fame level rebounder. And yeah, I know what I just said. I threw up in my mouth when I said it, Hall of Fame level. Yeah, he is a Hall of Fame level rebounder. He's an incredible rebounder. And you live with the dumb shit he does. But you know what? At least he brings some energy. It's kind of like, it can be fun to watch him in contained amounts of time. Wish we still had him. We traded him as a throw-in to get James. Somehow, it didn't make any sense, that fucking trade. Still doesn't make sense to me. I don't care what anybody says. At the time, I hated it. I still hate it today. We traded mad assets to get James Harden here. Ben, 3 draft picks, the best backup center we've ever had since Joel's been here, Andre Drummond, and Seth Curry, the best shooter, arguably, next to J.J. Redick that Joel's ever played with. We traded assets to get him here. Why? Well, because Daryl's a one-trick pony. I needed Daryl, as I said in the offseason, I said last year before we made the trade. Daryl's job is not the great thing that Daryl did was trading for James Harden, sure. Right? The reason why it was great was because you identified an asset that, and I'm not going to say James was distressed, but that was underutilized, and you saw something in him and felt like, yo, this dude could actually come here and probably be great. You couldn't identify that in Darius Garland last year. You didn't identify that in DeJounte Murray leading the league in assists this year. Is he leading the league? I think he's leading the league in assists this year. He might be second or third. I don't remember. You needed to identify those guys. That's what you needed to use Ben for. Imagine if last night we had DeJounte and Keldon Johnson with Joel. I think we'd be 3-0. Maybe 2-1. That team has a ceiling. I'll be honest. I love DeJounte. I love Keldon Johnson. I don't think any one of those guys could be a go-to scorer. Maybe they could. You don't know. They're still young. And I love DeJounte. You know what I mean? And he has had moments of go-to scoring. And with a player as great as Joel on your team, maybe. But the thing is, I'm just thinking in terms of if you had to have a dick measuring contest with Jamal Murray, I mean, everyone loses except for Steph. Pause. Except for them, if you had to have a dick measuring contest between DeJounte and these guys, who's going to win? Yeah, well, DeJounte's probably going to lose those matchups, but still, great defender, great distributor. I'd have much rather had him younger as well. Why you would make the team older? Joel is 27, 28. Why are you trading a young asset that still has somehow had value in Ben and get older and then continue to get more older by adding more old players? You added James, old. You got PJ Tucker, the second oldest player in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. Why would you get older? How did that help us exactly? Montrez, Danwell, they're not old, but they are old. They're old as in, oh, I'm over them. I've had enough of those guys. They've been old for years now. Danwell hasn't been able to stick on a team for years. Went from the Rockets, he bounced around, ended up on the Jazz, whatever, okay. Montrez, same thing, sixth man of the year. But then how come he's been on so many teams since? The Clippers, the Hornets, the Wizards. Last year, I remember, was on the Wizards last year when he said, I forgot what he said. He said something really tough about, I think it was after they traded Spence. And I think he said something like, yeah, now we're going to go to something, real foolhardy. And and guess what? He was wrong. The best thing I see Montrez do was win in 2K during the pandemic. I think he lost to Patrick Beverly, though, in their like a finals game. I think he lost. Montrez he's just 2 Chainz. We all like 2 Chainz, and we're all surprised when he does something good. Actually, no, that's disrespectful. 2 Chainz is better than 2 Chainz is better at the stuff he does than Montrez is. I'm sorry, 2 Chainz, you don't deserve that. They just kind of look alike. Montrez has something in his car. He may go to jail. I don't want him to go to jail, to be clear. I'm not going to advocate for that. But I'd be cool with him missing time because he has to get his legal situation under control. Take your time. Although we have no other backup centers. Because Daryl doesn't like tall basketball players. Daryl is the only person in the history of the NBA who comes into an NBA team and says, wow, we're too tall, guys. I don't like this. I don't like the looks of that. All these guys are too tall. Get shorter. We got to get shorter. I am not an advocate for Doc. Let's be clear about something. You're not going to hear me sit here and to be clear, to go back a year ago or 2 years ago when we hired Doc and hired Daryl, I did not like that. I wasn't happy. 2 years ago, I was not happy about that. I didn't want that Doc and Daryl here. I was immediately opposed to it. I'm not an advocate for Doc. Doc can't fix this. No coach can. There is no coach that's going to come in here and get James to play off ball, to get James to move the ball, because it'll happen a couple possessions before it goes back to the same, okay, that's enough. It's time for me to be James again. 4 for 18 yesterday. Played great the first 2 games. James is back. We're 0-3. That's a correlation. Correlation. Think about that word, a co-relation. That is what the word breaks down to. 2 things. They are co-mingling with each other. They are relational. 0-3, James is back. Those things are together. They are together. Because it's not about productivity. And I'm going to continue hammering this. If you're here to talk about basketball, I'm not here to give you fucking stats. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I will. I'm not here for that on a general basis because I think stats get a little too overblown. Stats are necessary and they help stats help define a game. But the story from the game needs to be watched. This was always my argument about Ben and his defense. You can't give me defensive stats to explain Ben. You can't. Because when I'm watching him, I'm seeing him giving up open shots. I see him get stuck on screens. I see someone who does a lot of things with his hands. Is kind of what Russell Westbrook defined Patrick Beverley's defense as in the past. He's doing a lot. It seems like he's playing a lot of defense. Watch Ben against Zion. Remove Zion's stat line from the picture and remove him making all of those shots. Ben looks like he's playing great defense. He's standing him up. He's moving his hands. And then Zion scores. Doing a lot of stuff. Looks like he's playing great defense. He's not. Don't come to me with stats. I don't care about James's efficiency this year. I mean, even though it just took a dive. Nose dive here. His turnovers are down, though. I'm going to give him credit for that. So far, his turnovers have been really, really down. This is someone who very oftentimes has had 8-9 turnover games. His turnovers are down significantly, so I do want to give him credit for that. And actually, if you can believe this, he has had a couple defensive possessions where I was actually pretty impressed with him, if you can actually believe that. A ton of where we're not impressed with him, which is fine because we know that that's James. He's actually had a few where I was kind of impressed one-on-one. Our defense as a whole is a whole. Our defense is awful. Unless Joel is playing the defense that we saw him play last year, especially if you just go back to I think it was game 3 against the Raptors, where it just looked like he was everywhere on defense. As I've said about Tatum, game 1, Giannis, most games. That's the only way we're going to have a defense that's successful. It's the only way. I think Maxey tries really hard on defense, but he's a little bit too short. He has long wingspan, great wingspan. Against any bigger guards or teams that are going to put you into a blender, it's going to be tough. You're going to have guys who are switching. Because that's the problem to me that's crazy about all of this is that you built this team and you never considered who your opponents would be. Our backcourt is mad small. Who can we defend? Well, let's see. Can we defend the Celtics backcourt? No. Can we defend the Heat backcourt? Probably not. Can we defend the Raptors backcourt? Yeah, maybe we can. Can we defend the Hawks backcourt? Not many people can, so no. Can we defend the Cavaliers backcourt? In terms of size, we can, but in terms of effort, we can't. Can we defend if we made it to the finals? Could we defend the Warriors backcourt? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What was this team that you built here? Of all small guys and Joel. Toby 6'8". Tucker he's 6'4". He plays the 3 for us. He's 6'4". Maxey 6'1". James is 6. I think James might be 6'2" or 6'3" or something. I don't know. What is this team you built? Where's the defense, the defensive stoppers that you promised us this offseason? I don't see them. I don't see Dan Well doing a ton of things on defense. Certainly not on offense. Matisse can't play. I don't blame Doc for not playing Matisse, to be clear. I'm not part of the contingent of people that are like, let Matisse play. Hey, it's fine. It's fine. For the first time in my life, I'm going to trust the Doc. I don't know what's going to happen. I think we're going to be fine. And I think that 3 months from now, people will forget about this start. Actually, 3 months from now, what's going to happen is like 4 months from now, you're going to start seeing the stories of, remember when they started slow? Now look at them. Ripped off 10 straight. They're 35-15, 35-12. One of the best teams in the NBA on a 35-9 run. Yeah, I could see that. For sure, I could see that happening for us. But when we get back to the playoffs, it'll just be a reminder. Remember this feeling. It'll be a reminder of this. There is no way you lose to the Spurs yesterday. Spurs are 2-1. They on a back-to-back, on the second half of a back-to-back, traveling, and you lost to them. down 10 in the third quarter, another bad third quarter. This is just a rehashing of 2 years ago when we come out of the third quarter with no energy. Remember last year? We'd come out of the third quarter and Joel was the leading scorer in the NBA in the third quarters. Remember that? Feels like a decade ago now. What's changed? And I don't want to hear, because I keep seeing people say, oh, it's going to take time, though. You got new pieces. You got a new system. You get new. Nothing is new. What are you talking about? All the high-usage basketball players have been here now. James was here but made his debut last March. We played March, April, May with him. Then we had an offseason with him. We had training camp with him. We had preseason with him. Don't tell me that guy is going to take time for. That doesn't make sense. Oh, I know what you mean. Really, what you don't know what you're saying is it's going to take time for guys to adjust to healthy James Harden, who's going to dribble the air out of the basketball, ostracize all of his teammates, and make them feel like they don't fucking matter. Oh, yeah, it is going to take time. But the amount of time allotted for that problem is forever. It's eternity. It's never going to happen. You think Joel's ever going to be happy? I said this on my last podcast. Think he's going to be ever happy being a screener? No. He doesn't want to screen and roll every possession. He wants to fucking cook. Every center in the NBA is like, every basketball player is like that for the most part. They want to cook a little bit. They want to get, you know what I mean? Joel wants to be an MVP. Right now, he's not on the list. Right now, he's not on the list. That list is Tatum, who just went off for 40 last night. Joker and Giannis are always going to be up there, even though Joker they're 1 and 2 right now. If I'm not, no, they're 2 and 1, but they squeaked out a win against the Thunder. Steph is on that list. Ja Morant is on that list. If you don't know, Ja is incredible, playing fucking incredible right now. Oh, Pascal's on that list. Pascal having massive games. I think he scored 37 last night or the night before. Luka's on that list. James Harden is probably on that list before him. You think he's going to be happy with this? Fuck no. There's a balance here. Like I said last podcast, I'm not letting Joe off the hook. Joe, you got to play better defense. I need to see more effort from you on a consistent basis. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck that you're unhealthy or that I'm not unhealthy, but you're out of shape. I'm tired of that narrative. I'm tired of how you had plantar fasciitis this summer and we didn't hear about that is beyond me. That's beyond me. I can't even imagine how the fuck that would happen. Why wouldn't the franchise let them know, hey, Joe had a little plantar fasciitis, so we've had to slow him down on conditioning for a bit. He'll be fine, ready to go for the season over. Then at least we'd know. We'd have an excuse. To think that Doc would release it now, unless Doc just said that out there because he wants to keep his job. Doc and Daryl was always an uneasy relationship. Doc was supposed to get hired by the Rockets originally when Daryl was the GM there. For some unknown reason, Doc chose not to go there, then came here. Then a week or two later, Daryl wants out of the Rockets, wants to spend time with his family. And then a week or two after that, we hired Daryl here. Doc was looking at the newspaper like, oh, fuck. You think Doc wants to coach an entitled superstar who gets his own planes chartered, forces the entire team to stay at a city for a night longer, doing crazy shit like that? The stories that you hear about Harden in Houston are fucking wild. You think Doc wanted to deal with that? Absolutely not. And now to hear that a GM, Daryl, who loves James and is the one who gave him that power, is going to come here? You think Doc wanted to deal with that? Probably not. I'm not a fan of Doc. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing it out. Whatever. But they don't hear me, though. But hey, guys. Psst. James Harden is back. Okay. Cool. Kewl. Cool. We got the Pacers next. Was that tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. Another player that we could have had there, absolutely dominating the NBA. Had 5 steals yesterday, Tyrese Halliburton. 23, 12, and 5 steals. Wish we had him. Wish we had him. The ugliest jumper I've ever seen in my life. That shit drops, though. Wish we had him. Plays defense. Wish we had him. we play Indiana, as I said. Then we have Toronto back-to-back, Wednesday and Friday, home and home. Well, not really a home and home because it's us home. I'm sorry. We're at Toronto. We're on a long, to be clear, we're on a long road trip starting after tomorrow. Indiana here, Toronto, Chicago, Washington, at those places. Then we have a home and home against Washington. Next Monday, Washington, we go there, then they come here. I mean, it's dark and hell is hot. R.I.P. to DMX. So Indiana, Toronto, Chicago, Washington. Leave Washington out. This week coming up, Indiana, Toronto, Chicago. We could go 4-0. We could go 0-3. I mean 0-4. All the things are on the table. My guess, we're going to go 2-2. Split the middle. Not really brave of me. We'll see. I mean, this is disgusting. Disgusting. Our defense, pathetic. But hey, Harden is back. You can blame it all on me. Harden is back. Hope you're all happy about that. Hope you're happy. This is the ceiling of a James Harden team. We won't win a championship while he's here. We can actually pretty much just sail that. Get ready, Sixers fans. If Joel stays here for the rest of his career, which I pray that he does, as long as Harden is here, we can pretty much grab. If you tell me that for the next 5 years we're going to have James Harden and Joel, we are not going to win a championship. That I can almost promise you. I have seen the story of James Harden play out for generations. I'm like fucking Doctor Strange doing all this. I've seen 3,405,000, the whole thing. And the one. There isn't a one. It's a zero. Made you look. Got him. That's all I got. Did this require? I have no idea. I'm sorry. My internet disconnected for a second. I don't know. I hope this continued recording. If not, then you saw, if it didn't continue recording, you saw it blank out. You may not even hear any of this. Who knows? Otherwise, that's all I got, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Black Lives Matter. Asian Lives Matter. LGBTQ plus matters. Oh, yeah. Q plus matters. What else? Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Yeah, that's all I got, everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind. Used to come